Well, hello there, everybody out there on the internet, all around the world. Welcome. This is Bongo from the Howell Wildlife Photography Convention. We are back this Monday with a keynote live stream interview with one of our speakers that's going to be featured this 2024, November 1, 2, and 3. Follow me north. I've got Jesse and Susan here on the line. How are you two doing?
Fantastic.
We are great. How are you doing?
I am doing wonderful as always, keeping the positive spirits alive and rocking and rolling here in Whitney, Ontario. How's everything out there? You're in Baysville, is it?
Yes. Yeah, we're in Baysville. It's a gorgeous day. We actually just got back from Algonquin Park. Surprise, surprise.
We were backcountry this morning at 4 a.m.
Well, 5. We woke up at 4. Yeah, that was
like true photographers, right? Up at all hours of the night. Yeah.
It is kind of funny because when we would message our friends or guests or clients or whatnot, and we email them like, yeah, well, we're gonna meet you at, we're gonna pick you up at around 4:50 or maybe 4:45, and they write back, is that a typo?
Yeah.
The sun's not even up then. I'm like, yeah, it will be. It will be. So,
you want that first light, right? Yeah. Amazing. Did you just want to give us a couple minute synopsis of what Follow Me North is all about?
Absolutely. Yeah, we are a married couple that photograph in Algonquin Park all the time. Actually, we met in Algonquin Park, actually. We met on Instagram. Yes,
Love
that
it.
is true. The Follow Me North existed for a couple years before Susan came in, and I found Susan on the Instagram and found out that she loved photography and loved Algonquin. And
through the hashtag for Algonquin Park.
yeah, and it was kind of like this beautiful little love story that started there, and just I won't get into it too much, but I think I reached out to her and said, "Do you want to go photograph some moose together?" And she ignored me. And it turns out she didn't ignore me. It was hidden in that hidden inbox in Instagram land.
And we talked for an entire month. I didn't hear his voice. We didn't FaceTime. It was just a text chain. And I agreed to spend the weekend with him and come up to Algonquin Park. And our first date was...
the 125th anniversary of Algonquin Park. We actually had our first date
at the Mad Musher restaurant in Whitney, Ontario.
Amazing.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where it all stemmed from. I won't give out the whole love story because that'll be a trilogy one day. And,
can't wait for the book, the memoir.
Actually, you can read about our love story in the Algonquin Life magazine.
That was last year's Algonquin Life magazine. So anybody that has some leftovers of that's in there. But yeah. So anyway, we're two wildlife photographers, fell in love with Algonquin, fell in love with each other. Now we run wildlife photography tours in Algonquin Park, some guiding, some coaching, inspiration. Our mission's basically inspiring each other and nature through photography.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just falling in love with the park, falling in love with going outside with our cameras, something that we're passionate about. So
100%. Yeah. I was just checking out your website quite recently, and I really do admire that on your website you do have an emphasis for mindfulness, ethical practices, respect for Indigenous cultures and Indigenous history and all this other kind of stuff too. So as us being part of Howell and our whole focus is ethical photography, we thought that you were just a slam dunk to that we really do share a similar mission statement and a similar vision as well.
I love that. And we are so grateful. And thank you so much for inviting us to speak at Howell this year. I'm excited to meet a bunch of new people probably coming to Howell. Hopefully everybody that's watching this is just going to get that little bit of inspiration each week when you introduce a new speaker. And there's so much value, especially from these small little gatherings, right? Like smaller is intimate.
Real FaceTime with people that you've looked up to and inspire you. Yeah. We were so inspired by John Marriott last year and Christine Lukasavich and talking to them about ethics and culture. It's invaluable time.
The amount of people that we meet each year and then you're friends with forever afterwards. So it's all these little events that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
And congrats for you guys. What's that, 4 years now? Is this?
Yeah, pretty much. And we dealt with the pandemic as well. There was that whole wrench in the plan too, and here we are marching on. So yeah, and
thank you again.
Yeah, and we're just so happy and stoked to have you follow me north as one of our keynotes this year. It's gonna be awesome. So yeah, we've got 5 photos that we're gonna look at today, and I can't wait to hear about every one of them. So let's jump into that here. Give me a second here just to load my slideshow.
I'm excited to see these photos.
All right. So I don't know if
as a heads up, I believe you chose these photos, right?
And you're like, yes, that's right. Yeah,
the stories behind these. We better make up some stories behind these now. What are we gonna do? No.
This one is a special one.
Yeah.
Oh, you're starting with the links. Yes. Links are, oh my God, links are our favorite. I think every wildlife photographer, to be honest, has this passion to seek out those elusive animals, right? And we never honestly thought we would actually come across a lynx. We had this passion for it, but it all started, what day was that? Was it Christmas Day?
Christmas Day, 2019.
Okay. Our annual thing is we drive through Algonquin Park on Christmas morning. That's how we start our morning on Christmas Day. And we were coming around this corner on Highway 60, actually, and we come down this hill and we see something on the road. And now, mind you, our windshield's all like filled with salt and like crap. And I'm like, is that a wolf? Like, oh my God, there's a wolf on the road. And then sure enough, we're like, that wolf doesn't have a tail. And it has little ear tufts. Like, oh my.
Like, and a really sloped silhouette.
Are we really looking at a lynx right now? And I remember Susan, I was driving, so Susan had her camera on her lap, but she was like awestruck that she didn't lift her camera at first. And then I
had just unboxed a new lens, the Sigma 150-600 that I used to shoot with. Yes. And I come from studio background, so I'm very precious about my settings back in the day. And I had low ISO, so it's already slow shutter.
And I'm driving, it's moving, it's trying to run up this. There was a rock cliff beside us and it was trying to run up there. And anyway, we'll tell more of the story at Howell. Come and see. And we'll check that out. But that started it all for us, right? Yeah. And this image comes from not Algonquin Park, actually. This one actually.
An expedition we did 3 years later. So we did a lot of research on their habitat, best places to find lynx, and
what do they like, what do they consume, and all of these.
A rough route. We didn't really have exact locations. We were just kind of mapping out, like, let's go as far north as we can. The deeper the snow, the more likely we're going to find their choice food.
Literally, we went with a map with pinpoints all the way around Northern Ontario. We can try to hit every back road possible. And our thought process was, let's look for tracks. If we can find some tracks, and if we can start with hare tracks, because that's their main food source. And then if we find lynx tracks and hare tracks together, bingo, they're going to hang out in that area. And we literally went up 3 weeks in a row to these areas. And this was our first lynx family that we came across.
Yeah. We drove enough kilometers that we could have gone to Disneyland and back, which Mom didn't love me enough and didn't take me to Disneyland. And he's like, we're going to freeze. We're going to be in -40 temperatures trying to find these things.
That was another thing. That's because that morning when we woke up, it said -40 on the dash of the car. And I was like, wow, we're going to go out snowshoeing looking for some lynx. And we actually got to snowshoe with the lynx. Whoever hasn't heard about our lynx story, because we talked about it a lot.
I wrote 3 blogs on this expedition.
It is on our website, but I love talking about it live in person. If you ever see us in person and we're sitting around a campfire, absolutely. Let's chat about the lynx.
This particular image was the start of our snowshoe journey. Because this is actually Mom. There was 4 kits with her, and she just kind of stepped out of the bush and appeared on the road magically, and then weaved back in. And all of a sudden, she breaks through these trees, and the kits just fan out from her. And they, very military style, are trying to find snowshoe hares. So Mom would move up the field a little bit, and then the kits would follow, and she would lay down and stop, and then they would continue. They were completely comfortable with us. They were aware of us the entire time. She made eye contact with us several times and still maintained her hunting practices. So we felt good about what we were doing.
They knew we were there. We had a safe distance. They were still hunting.
We were shooting with long lenses.
It was just an incredible thing. It honestly felt like our Nat Geo moment. You know what I mean? Like, I think every wildlife photographer has that moment that they're like, wow, is this really happening in front of me right now?
Yeah.
And we were so grateful. It actually happened for us 3 weeks in a row. So, and
two different families,
3 weeks in a row. And just to go one last thing on this photo for photographers, it's like, we talk a lot about persistence, passion, and patience. Without those 3 Ps, it's really hard to do wildlife photography or anything in that matter. But persistence, we went back to those same spots over and over again this year and last year and saw 0 lynx. So
actually, that's a lie. We saw 1 lynx last year, but he was gone like this. He was gone, no photos.
Yeah, no photo. We didn't see it. It didn't happen.
Same amount of money invested, same amount of time, still freezing. And we'll probably try again this year too. And it's just that persistence. You never know if you're going to get these moments again. So there was a lot of tears of joy and of discomfort with this, which you can read about the discomfort in our blog.
In the blog. And you can find that at followmenorth.com, everybody.
Yes, it's all in there. Susan's written a lot on those. So well, you better move that photo because Susan
I could talk about it all day.
Well, I will say that Joe Rogue is online, also saying what a beautiful shot, and Joe says hello.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
And the last thing I'm going to say about this photo is your lynx shots are wonderful. There's a whole series of them, and I don't know, this one. It's like I could have chosen any of them, but I went with this one. I don't know. There's just something about it. You could just feel the emotion of the animal, right?
We call them murder mitts because look at their paws. It's just to float over the snow.
They are basically snowshoes, right?
Yeah, essentially.
It's so cool. All right. So great. I know we could talk about this photo for an hour, but we're going to go to the second photo now.
We'll just pick one photo next time, Bongo. 5. Okay. Yes.
All right.
What do we got next?
You've seen many moose. I think we're going to look at 2 moose photos today, but this is the first one that we're going to have a look at here. What is this? Is this in fall colors in the background? Is that what I'm seeing here?
Yes, actually, I remember that one. That was in the autumn. That was the last week of September or the first week of October. I think it was last. But this was going back a few years. So if I remember correctly with this one, we were hosting a workshop, photography workshop in the park with a few guests. And I remember searching for moose all day. And I mean, as photographers leading like workshops and stuff, you can never guarantee wildlife photography. I mean, wildlife specifically. But we love the thrill of the chase and the thrill of like following tracks and like signs of animals in the wild.
Yeah.
And this was one of those days where it was like, you're putting in the time, you're putting in that effort, and you're just like, we're gonna hopefully find one, right? And we were rewarded with this bull later on in the day. So I think it was more of that kind of like victory, you know what I mean? You just go through the day, and then all of a sudden it's kind of like that cherry on top where you're rewarded with this moose. And I just remember this moose just kind of peeking out, and we didn't have many shots, to be honest. I only have maybe 5 different shots of this moose, and then he kind of ran across the road. And actually, one of my favorite shots that I took of this moose was actually in the distance as he ran across the road. And there was the twisty road scene, and the moose is like very small in the scene, just crossing the road, but he had all the fall colors around it. And it was just kind of, it was just
majestic.
Yeah, it was just kind of one of those majestic Algonquin scenes as, driving through the park and seeing a moose. But yeah, it was nice to share that with our guests. And I loved it. I love the colors, obviously, seeing a moose with a rack and,
rack too.
Colors, a mature rack,
Yeah.
And obviously we all just want the biggest rack possible.
I know.
Fellas who's growing into it, some people might be watching this from Alaska and be like, that's not even a moose.
Yeah. As as part of Howl, you know, we agreed that that we would be licensed 5 of your images for promotional reasons and stuff like that. And you were just saying about the photo of the moose on the road. I know because I went through your portfolio with a fine tooth comb trying to think, what are we gonna choose here? I know the shot you're talking about, and you have some killer road shots. One with the bear too. It's yeah. So
no, I love.
So anybody watching out there, please, like, these are just 5 images from Follow Me North. Definitely check out their website, followmenorth.com, and also at Follow Me North on Instagram and Facebook as well to see more of the beautiful images.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let's, we've got still more. We're not done talking about moose yet, but let's jump into the next photo here. All right. I don't know if you can see that yet on your screen.
Not yet.
It's a little bit of this is the black bear.
Oh, the black bear. Black bears are exciting. Right now, there's a lot of sightings right now for black bears, but they keep eluding me. Yeah. Not keep, but like we just came across.
We've seen a few.
Yeah. What I love about black bears and what I hate about black bears. Let's talk about that.
Sure.
As from a photography point. All right. So the kind of fun about black bears is they give you that challenge because their heads are down all the time.
Constantly.
So first of all, finding them.
Yeah.
They're
so elusive.
So much so. Like, I mean, a lot of the shrubbery and the bush and everything like is so high that you wouldn't even know you're walking through a field with a black bear half of the time. And to be quite honest, like that's kind of like what happened here. And this bear, you just saw the little hump, just a little black, and we saw some bushes moving.
Wow. And
as soon as we start walking towards that way, this was the first shot literally in that series because this bear just stood up and gave us that look, you know, and it was like, oh, hey bear. And, you know, we'll talk to the animals and we're very calm with our voice. And I wonder if people ever hear us in the bush that might be like not know like what's going on. They're like, what are they talking to? Like they're literally talking to that animal. And it's like, hey bear, it's just us. We're here to just take a couple photos. It's okay. And, you know, go about your business and, you know, we'll take a few and we'll leave. Whatever we're saying, it sounds ridiculous sometimes. And it's just that calm energy. And this bear did not care that we were there. It's like people will look at a bear like this and think it's an aggressive bear because it's standing up. And I think the one thing that we like to, you know, to share a lot of the time is, you know, this is a curious post. This is, first of all, like they heard something, they stood up just like anybody would and just kind of like look around. Half of the time they look around, and usually a second after this photo, they're running away. This bear was actually calm enough to hang out there, and it just kind of went a bit, you know, foraging, eating the blueberries that were right there.
Which is the sign that you want.
Yeah, and it's like, so it was. We had a respectful, distance. Obviously, a lot of people will see this and think, you know, that's one of the things as an ethical wildlife photographer is discussing that distance and keeping that safe distance and allowing them their space and trying not to interfere with their behavior and their feeding and all of those things. So we felt good with this bear. It saw us, and then it continued foraging, still eating, and didn't care that we were there at all.
And I think these are the animals that scare a lot of first-time campers and travelers, thinking that they're going to encounter a bear and they're going to have a horrible experience and they're going to be aggressive. But Mike and Ella of Bear With Us have always given great advice. They're guest speakers last year, and their best advice for nervous campers and hikers is a black garbage bag. That swishing sound of the air coming in and out of the bag, and it makes you look huge. And that bear is just gonna run away
and just bolt. Yeah. So that was one little tidbit that he shared with us, which was nice. But bears to photograph, they're very difficult. They're little beady eyes, and they're black, and you're trying to lock focus on those eyes. No matter if you have eye tracking with your new mirrorless camera, sometimes they're very frustrating to get. Sometimes you lock focus on their nose, and you miss their eyes, and half the time it's literally just a quick look and then they're gone, you know? So you have to be fast. And when it comes to those wildlife moments, that's where it comes down to like practice, shooting the things, like photographing those things in your backyard. If I can lock focus on a chipmunk and a red squirrel that's running through a tree, I'll feel a lot more confident when a bear just stands up and like you only have literally 3 seconds with the bear
and getting that focus point on their tiny little beady eye against like black, which is always hard to expose for too.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. So we have more, I guess, bad photos of bears than we have good ones for sure. Like a lot of, we've had way more luck out west with grizzly bears when we did the grizzly bear tours than we have with black bears here in our own province. So
I feel like it's easier to time it with the grizzlies though, because the salmon run, they're distracted, they're doing their thing, and
so
these guys hide away in the blueberry bushes.
What they're doing is eating. But we love bears. I still haven't got the bear photo of like baby, like the cubs in a tree. And I'd love to get that shot, you know, like, so I'm just putting it out there, universe, if you're listening, which you are, because you've delivered lots for us. We'd love to see that as well. So we have to go out tomorrow morning.
Well, like you said, the one thing that struck me about this was this pose, like just standing up, like you said, most of the time they're foraging with their noses right in the ground, right? And you know that one moment of and here it is, and boom, that's it, right? That's all you get. A split second.
I just love the paw placement of this too.
The paws are hilarious.
But what I like to share with our guests when we're with them, if we get photos like this, is I love sharing the back of camera shots that we got, because probably 5 before this one and 5 after that shot were blurry. You know, and that's okay. And that's the thing. I think showing our fails is important just as much as showing our highlight reel. So that doesn't mean that our Instagram is going to change to all fails, but at the same time, we love sharing that when we're out with our guests and being like, you know, take down that veil of like, hey, we're nailing every shot. Wildlife photography is not about nailing every shot. It's more important to nail that ethical stance first. And again, that's always a practice, and always questioning, did we interrupt? Did we affect this bear in any way, shape, or form? And so that's important to us.
There's something to be said about putting down your camera and actually holding space and experiencing it, because sometimes we get lost behind the lens and we don't remember until we look back at our images.
I like that line, actually, lost behind the lens. Yeah, that's a blog. Lost behind the lens. Okay, we said it first here, so if anybody steals that .com,
it's yours. You get it. TM right there, registered. Okay.
All right.
I said there would be another moose in today's program. Now, not only is this moose in our live stream, but it's also on this park visitor guide here. I don't know how many thousands of people will pick this up, but and now this is not the first time that Follow Me North has been featured on the official park visitor guide, is it?
No, we were very grateful. Like, we were very excited that
it's the first time it's a wildlife photo on the front.
We heard that, like, when they reached out, we're like, this is the first time we're putting a moose or a wildlife on the cover. And I'm like, what's taking you so long? You know, like, moose is very iconic for Algonquin Park, and it has that draw to Algonquin. And we were so thrilled that they chose this photo for, you know, the cover for this year. So if you're coming through Algonquin Park, you can pick them up at the visitor center or anywhere actually within the park. They're everywhere, at every campground. And so it's just a fun photo of a moose. This was a little canoe paddle backcountry with a friend of mine that she was camping. That was in like 2017. Nori, there's a shout out to Nori. She's a great wildlife photographer as well in Algonquin. And we won, actually, at the Friends of Algonquin. We've won a little backcountry water taxi trip. So we took that together and we split that. And we went backcountry together just for a few hours, went paddling, and we came across this moose. And this was actually on Canada Day. So it's a Canada Day moose, which was kind of fun. And so
Canadian.
And this moose knew we were there, and he did not care that we were in that vicinity. And again, we shoot with long lenses, so we were far enough away, and we were just kind of like, we butted ourselves up against the shoreline and just watched him eat. And what we were waiting for, those little moments, like, you might not, well, I guess you could see it on the screen, that water dropping, the dripping against the body. Those are those moments that I'm waiting for. That's what we're waiting for when it comes to photography. Like, yes, we have some great shots of just the moose looking the other way, for example,
or direct eye contact.
But why I chose that one was those water droplets up against the body.
Yeah.
I think that really spoke to me a lot more. And then seeing those layers, right? You have those layers falling off in the background. The more layers we can put in, the more depth. It creates kind of like that three-dimensional image. And then you get that third element, we call it, with the water droplets, right? Now, when it was looking the other way, those water droplets were lost with that grass in the background. So it was just, and again, so when you talk about compositions and stuff, it's like, yeah, that might be bending the rules a little bit when people talk about rules. I like talking about guidelines versus rules, but that moose is more dynamic looking that way out of the scene, whereas a lot of people would say, well, the moose has to be looking into the scene, right? They're not being butted up that side. But I think it works for this image, especially with that landscape in the background. But it was a fun moment getting in there. Photographing moose from a canoe is a game changer. Like it is fun. It is incredible to have those moments where you're low to the water with them. And we were lucky to spend, we probably had a good, I'm guessing 15 minutes with that moose there, and being able to create so many different compositions from that. And this was one, I'm glad you picked that one too, because I mean, that's one that kind of stood out to me, and there was something about it. And I'm glad to share that with Algonquin for the cover. Glad to share it with Nori too. She's a great photographer, and absolutely killer moment. Actually, that's, we were paddling there today.
Yeah.
And this morning.
Hailstorm, is it?
Yeah, that one's a hailstorm. Yeah. And we didn't see any moose today, but it was a gorgeous morning. There was when Opiongo that's the lake, if anybody's, but Opiongo Lake is a huge, huge lake. And when Opiongo's smooth, like glass, you're like, oh, this is a good morning.
Yeah.
Remember that you probably woke up and saw the mist this morning. It was a cooler morning. To be able to bring your friends back there and paddle, and it was a perfect morning.
Amazing.
Perfect.
All right, we got one more image here for today's slideshow, and this one strays away from the region of Algonquin Park, and I believe this one, well, tell me more about this one. That's the
Algonquin lion. That's
the Algonquin lion. Oh.
That was at Lake of Two Rivers like the other day. It was crazy.
So for those who don't know, our guiding has expanded to include South Africa, and we have the great fortune of being able to teach there again next year. So we had a whole month there this year. This was from our first year teaching there though, and this is in the Timbavati region, the Greater Kruger. We had an incredible morning. We were following a pride of lions, so mom and 3 cubs, and it was misty and it was beautiful. And, they're playing with her and we're having all of these amazing interactions. And all of a sudden, out of the mist, this male lion just kind of slowly strolls towards them. And the cubs, their reaction to him, they were jumping on his back. And there's so many different interactions of this scene. But I love this image with that direct eye contact with him, because this was the moment he was just passing our Jeep within arm's length. It's
incredible how close some of these encounters are. And not feeling threatened. And again, the animals didn't feel threatened by the Jeep. They're used to seeing Jeeps going through these large areas, these game reserves.
And ethically, the only rule, especially with the big cats, is never breaking the profile of the vehicle, because they're used to seeing that on safari. So no standing, especially for the cats. And
no getting out.
No getting out, no making noise. You're just kind of enjoying that moment. And we were able to watch this whole pride of lions, just these intimate interactions, rubbing their faces against each other, play fighting, and it was an incredible moment. I think there was tears for sure.
There is, because I think when you look at a lion for the first time in the wild, like we've all seen lions. We've all grown up, you have the zoos Lion King, and right? Lion King, and you have all these moments with lions, and you just see, and then I was like, you know what, when you go to the safari, is it going to be different? Because I feel like we've all seen lions, like photos of lions and that geo photos of everything. But when you're looking at a lion like 10 feet away from you, and you lock eyes with that lion, it looks at you and you can see the breath and you can hear their roar. Like when we were sleeping at night, and literally you could hear the roaring of them, like just vibrating behind us, and just like the echo, how loud or how long it echoes for. Oh, it was just incredible. It gives you
Africa at night is a totally different experience, which we're fortunate to be able to do morning and evening game drives, so we get both experiences.
Yeah, and the lodges were just beautiful. But I mean, this lion, for example, I remember our first lions that we came across. Actually, the first lions that we came across was a pride of 21 lions. And they came out from the bush and basically circled our Jeep, but not in a threatening way. Like they literally came out and they were curious. And the young ones that were in this pride all of a sudden started playing with each other and jumping around and rolling around. And I think they just ate recently too. So a lot of the older ones, they just kind of like laid down and rolled on their back, and they had these big, bellies, and just kind of just relaxing, but not a care in the world that we were there. So, I mean, I don't know. There was something about.
There's something super magical and special about Timbavati. Specifically because it feels like this hidden gem that tourism hasn't quite touched yet.
Now it's going to go viral. Now that's it. You mean Zimbabwe or something? Yeah. No. We had.
It's usually just us, and we're usually teaching. I'm in one vehicle, Jesse's in another, and sometimes we'll just experience totally different things on safari. Sometimes his guide is taking him one way, and sometimes we get to meet up. And this sighting, we eventually did get to meet up together and enjoy this together. But there's no more than 2 vehicles at sightings. It's really intimate. So when you have moments like this with the cubs, you're in it with them, and there's no one else around, and it's just this magical moment.
And Susan loves shooting very tight, like this image, for example. So this is your shot, and my shot of that same lion would have like had an environmental shot. So it's great when we shoot together, because I know what she's getting, and I know her style. I know what she loves, and she knows and she knows what I'm getting, and she knows that, okay, I bet you Jesse's getting this, and I'm like, I bet you Susan's getting that. And it's exciting when we get back and we look at each other's camera, and we're like high-fiving each other, like, holy shit, you got that?
This year we did a lot of video. So I'm just editing now, like a more long form video, and the footage, I can't wait to be able to share it with people, because there's so much to be said in photos, but sometimes it's those little in-between moments. Like, for example, I have video of this lion, and he's roaring, and the heat and the smoke is coming out of his mouth. And it's just something I couldn't capture in the photo. Like it's really faded and you can't quite pick it out, but in the video you can really see it with the slow motion.
That's so incredible. Let's book another talk on just Africa.
We could talk about it all night.
But kind of funny, like last thing on Africa really quick, because the amount of wildlife that you see on a trip, it's overwhelming. Like when we did 10 days there with our guests, like 5 days at one lodge, 5 days at another, we saw
we could have, I think 2 days.
I was gonna say by day 2 or day 3, we all said that we could make a book on Africa, or like a great coffee table book on Africa. So and
as an operator, it's the closest thing we can do to a wildlife guarantee. We can't guarantee exactly what you're going to see every single day. We just know you're going to see an abundance of things.
Then we try a lot harder here in Ontario. Let me tell you, like we're going out.
There's a lot of sweat.
We're putting in that time to find those amazing wildlife encounters, but it makes it all that much more special too. At the same time, every encounter that we come across, not all of it is obviously, you're never going to guarantee anything, but when you do come across those moments, being appreciative of each moment, no matter what it is.
This year, for example, our safari started with a black rhino sighting. They're extremely rare. Some of our guides haven't even seen them in the wild, and our guests got to see that on their first day. We're like, we're setting the bar up here. So
and then we never saw it again.
Our one lodge was actually a part of the Black Rhino Project. So they were reintroducing 5 rhinos into this area in Amakhala. And they're doing really well. They're thriving. They're already mating, and we got to see the male on our first day.
We were spoiled. We were spoiled for sure. So
that is
incredible though. Incredible.
So inspiring. And we only have you on for 30 minutes today, but
Yes.
Follow Me North will be the keynote speakers at Howl. So you're just going to have to come and attend Howl to get the whole rest of the stories behind these images. And I'm sure that you're going to have a wonderful presentation with a lot more images as well, and get an in-depth perspective into how those are made. And then, of course, Howl is a super social event. And again, we were talking about the intimacy of Howl as well. Only 40 attendees. It's very small. So for those that are attending, you'll get to meet and chat face to face with Jesse and Susan here. So definitely consider checking us out November 1, 2, and 3 of this year.
Awesome. I'm glad everybody tuned in, and please do share this information with others that you know that might be inspired by getting together with a bunch of creatives that love wildlife and photography in general. So please share it. Please come out and introduce yourselves.
Don't be afraid to say hi.
Yeah, don't be afraid to say hi. If you ever see us in the park too, say hi. Feel free. We're very open books. So thanks again, Bob. I appreciate it.
And thank you. Yeah, two very wonderful people here. So thank you so much. Just some shout outs here online. Richard Mann says, hello, guys. And Joe Rogue also says, thank you for sharing your experiences and looking forward towards November. Both Joe and Richard signed up. So, we're going to be hanging out with them at Howl.
Perfect. Yes, we're looking forward to it.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to some of these stories behind the photos of Follow Me North. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.